views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right
Where it is, you would have with a camera, Robert.
at 855-525-5683. Your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
Hey, what's happening? Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. Dave Coleman along with Robert Webb in the house. 855-525-5683 is the number. You want to call us up. Of course, you can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, same moniker, Black Focus Radio. Of course, also, if you miss any parts of the show, make sure you download the app. We upload it every day after the show. So if you miss any parts of the show, make sure you download it, okay? We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Of course, we were out yesterday. Thought about doing a show. I'll be totally honest. I didn't take it off for Veterans Day. I took it off because I really wasn't feeling well, okay? And since it was a holiday anyway, I said, well, why not? So I'm feeling a little better, having issues with my back. But, man, and I took a pill yesterday evening about 6:30. Man, I didn't wake up until about 9 o'clock this morning. I'm not kidding. So, and I'm not going to say what the pill was, but it's for my back. But man, I was like, wow. But anyway, so that's why we were out yesterday. I hope you all had a happy Veterans Day. Of course, I wished my son, Akili Coleman, a happy Veterans Day, who is currently in the Navy, stationed in Hawaii, but will be back on the mainland here in a couple of weeks here in Little Rock to feast on a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner that I'm preparing for him. I think I'm going to jerk a turkey, okay? Smoke it, jerk it, all those good things. I haven't jerked a turkey. Obviously, I do my rub, but I've made a jerk seasoning that I'm probably going to add to my line of products, which will be called rib jerk. So I'm going to smoke it this Thanksgiving. So anyway, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And of course, we'll get an opportunity to meet my brand new daughter-in-law, just recently christened. So looking forward to an exciting Thanksgiving weekend. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. 855-525-5683 is the number. Wow, we got tons of stuff to talk about today. Of course, one of the stories, and we're going to do Black Facts as well. We'll do that here in just a moment. But let me read the tease for you because that way you'll get an idea of the flavor of the show today. Doesn't mean that we're going to stick strictly with that particular subject matter because, once Robert gets here and he's already here, he'll veer off into the ditch or something like that. So, just be aware of that. But we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, of course. And there's a new African-American fund I just recently found out that will offer business loans to small businesses. And we'll talk about that. And, of course, the interesting story that took place over the weekend, talk a little bit about the BART rider. This is in Northern California. Of a black man who was arrested for eating a sandwich. Did you hear what I just said? So there's a protest going on today, and all of the people there that are riding the BART, that's the Bay Area Rapid Transit, that's what BART stands for. They're all eating sandwiches, so we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. I thought that was kind of interesting. And we may or may not hear from someone from the Arkansas Education Association. Typically on Tuesdays, we do try to talk to them, but Tracy Ann is out of the city, so not sure if she's going to send a surrogate. But if she does, we'll certainly talk to them about the upcoming strike for one day, and that's part of my tease. LREA proposes a one-day strike. What will that do? Also, has the CBC, that's the Congressional Black Caucus, backed Byron Allen in his suit against Comcast? Also, how much money does it take for your black leaders to sell out our community? We're going to talk about that too. This is surrounding the Comcast situation as well, because I've got some numbers that's going to shock you on how much money Comcast has been given to the Urban League, the NAACP, and the National Action Network. I'm just going to let you know. All right? Hey, Dwight. What's up, Jackie? How y'all doing? Thanks for joining. And also over the weekend, although this is not in the tease, but Arkansas has fired their coach. They should have never hired him. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. I mean, we should be saying hallelujah. My gosh, how bad can you be? But it's not all bad, because he's walking away with a $12 million buyout. Wow. A $12 million buyout. Okay? All right, so let's do Black Facts.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
All right, there were a lot of ways I could have went today, but certainly in respect to all of the people, particularly African Americans, who fought for a country that refused to fight for them, want to give a shout out to all of those black veterans. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, but more importantly, talk about some from our history. 100 years ago, World War I. 100 years ago, the Harlem Hellfighters bravely led the U.S. into World War I. Their courage made headlines across the country, hailing the African-American regiment as heroes, even as they faced discrimination at home. Private Henry Johnson of Albany, New York, held tight his French Lebel rifle and stared into the darkness of no man's land, listening for German raiders. Beyond the parapet, he could make out shapes and shadows under the waning moon. Johnson was a 25-year-old railroad baggage porter, the son of North Carolina tobacco farmers. Under French command, he manned the front line of the Great War, about 150 miles east of Paris, in the early morning of May 15th, 1918. He heard a sound and turned to his partner, and in their tiny observation post, Needham Roberts, who gestured toward the direction of the noise. They heard it again, the snip of barbed wire being cut. Johnson fired an illumination rocket into the sky, then ducked as German grenades flew toward him. The grenades exploded behind him, and pain struck his left leg and side. Roberts, bleeding from his head, threw grenades of his own back at the parapet. The German forces rushed into the Americans' dugout. Johnson shot one German in the chest, point blank, then swung his rifle and clubbed another. Two enemy soldiers tried to haul Roberts away until Johnson drove his 9-inch knife into one of their skulls. Another German shot Johnson in the shoulder and thigh. Johnson lunged with his knife and slashed him down. The enemy soldiers ran. Johnson chucked grenades as they flew. Reviewing the carnage the next day, the U.S. Army captain estimated that Johnson had killed four of at least 24 German soldiers. Days later, Johnson and Roberts became the first Americans to receive the French Croix de Guerre, the first of many honors awarded to the 369th Infantry Regiment, better known as the Harlem Hellfighters. They were mostly New Yorkers. The first black troops in their state's National Guard. After years of lobbying by civic leaders from Harlem, Manhattan's celebrated black neighborhood, Governor Charles Whitman finally formed an all-black unit, first known as the 15th New York National Guard Regiment in 1916. As the U.S. prepared for possible entry into World War I, the Harlem Hellfighters, the most celebrated African-American regiment in World War I, confronted racism even as they trained for war, helped bring jazz to France, then battled Germany longer than almost any other American doughboys. Their nickname's origin is unclear. It was possibly coined by enemy soldiers, the American press, or both. Like their predecessors in the Civil War and successors in wars that followed, these African-American troops fought a war for a country that refused them basic rights. And their bravery stood as a rebuke of racism, a moral claim to first-class citizenship. And that's our Black Facts for today.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio. Black Facts, our culture, our history.
Why could he be so
great?
Oh! And if you would like to sponsor Dynamic Black Facts, give me a call at 615-554-0568. And as a matter of fact, if you've got a Black Fact that you'd like for me to check out, send that to me at blackfocusradio@gmail.com. All right, so let's welcome in our co-host, Robert Webb. Hey, Robert, how you doing?
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
He's a little traumatized right now, man.
You all right, man?
Traumatized.
No, man, I ain't
What?
doing well at all.
What's wrong, man? Let's talk it out. You know, it's good to get it out.
No,
What's
man,
wrong?
I can't
You
even
okay?
discuss it, man.
You-
Rizzy wrong, man.
You know, what do you do to him, Roselle?
Rizzy wrong
What'd you
for what
do?
he just did.
I showed him his homeboy at Discovery.
Oh, you got to see your boy kicking back like a fat rat old school style at Discovery, huh? They said you were down there taking video
Hey, you know
of all the intricate poses.
that song, Throw Your Hands Up in There.
You wave them like you just don't care. If you're ready to rock like Freddie, somebody scream, oh yeah.
You know what? I ain't thinking about neither one of you.
Oh, man.
Hey, man,
I didn't know you knew that dude,
I
man.
don't know the brother, but I really feel for him.
Why?
Something got to be really wrong.
I think someone spiked his drink.
More than a spike, bro.
I think he got a hold of something. That's not alcohol, dude. Okay? Somebody put something in his drink. But well, he's happy he didn't get arrested.
He should have been.
You know, so
He
you
should have
know.
been arrested for just showing that body.
And by the way, he was a cop. Those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there was a cop at the Discovery Club here in Little Rock. I know some of you all out of the state who listen to the show, but there was a cop in a local club here that stripped butt naked and decided to dance in a club.
As
And
my mom would say, buck ass naked.
yeah, and ended up not being arrested at all. So anyway, 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. Just some breaking news as we were going on the air. State Senator Joyce Elliott has announced her run for the United States Congress and is running against French Hill, which I'm excited to see that happen. I think far too long Arkansas Democrats have just sat on the sideline and have not put credible candidates in the races for federal offices. Excuse me. And Senator Joyce Elliott is certainly a credible candidate. Me personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I had hoped she had ran for Senator Tom Cotton's seat. And we discussed that briefly right here on Black Focus, by the way.
Yeah, last time she was here.
And she was coy, as a matter of fact, keeping her cards close to the vest because apparently something was afoot. And I kind of could look at her eyes and didn't know what, but either way, now we see, and I wish her luck. And although I won't publicly endorse anyone because of this radio show, I would.
Oh, really? Now you're not publicly endorsing folks? Boy, you a piece of work. You a piece of work.
Who have
boy.
I publicly endorsed?
Who ain't you endorsed? Last week, you damn near endorsed 3 candidates running for state rep.
All three of them. All three of them are running for the same position.
Don't act
right?
brand new.
All three of them are running.
Don't act brand
So
new.
I spoke glowingly about all three.
All right, peace, bro.
Okay.
Y'all have a good show.
All right, you two men. So I spoke glowingly about all three of those candidates. Okay.
You spoke glowingly.
Yes.
You spent hours on Ryan's page, the pastor. You spent an hour on his page. 5 minutes. You spent 5 minutes on Joyce's. If they ain't an endorsement, I don't know what is.
Are we supposed to be getting them on the show?
They will be here.
When are they going to be on the show?
Let me give you the date, sir.
Okay. Because if I was endorsing one or the other, I'd get one on the show and wouldn't get the other one on the show. Sir, I'm a
You are
journalist.
such a hypocrite.
Okay. Now, as I've said, even if the Republicans want to come on this show, I welcome you. Okay. Tom Cotton, French Hill, come on. Now, French Hill has been on this station before when Charles Williams had a show.
That makes sense.
But Charles Williams is a black conservative.
Yeah, Joe will be here Wednesday at noon,
Okay.
and Ryan will be here Thursday at noon.
Okay. Well, fantastic.
There's some other guys in the race too. I gotta reach out to them, but there's 2 other people.
Okay.
supposedly.
Well, Roderick Talley is in the race. See, why'd you do that? See,
I didn't do anything.
I mean,
What are you
okay,
talking
about an endorsement or a non-endorsement.
What are you talking about?
You didn't breathe, you didn't sigh heavily and then cock your head to the side and roll your eyes on the other two
Oh,
candidates.
Jesus. I didn't do that. I didn't do that just now. either.
Yes, you did too, Robert. That's
God.
that's just wrong.
You are such a.
Gosh,
What's the majigum right now?
what's a majigam?
What you are.
Okay. But either way, glad for Senator Joyce Elliott.
Yeah, that's
really
what's up.
thrilled
That's
about
what's
it.
up. That's what's up.
Look, we can make changes by getting to the ballot box. And I think all of us would agree, and Robert, I would think he would agree as well, but I won't put words in his mouth.
Yeah, don't do that.
But we always talk about running candidates that have worked in the community, who have been tireless in the community. From what I've seen since I've been back, Senator Elliott is that candidate.
She's worked it.
You see what I'm saying?
She's talked the talk.
She's walked the walk and she's talked the talk. All right? So these are the candidates that we need to start looking for, supporting, and voting for. I'm just saying. So congratulations to her. I have reached out to her to get her on the show. Hopefully we'll be able to get her on in the next couple of days and see what what her platform is. What does she want changed? Of course, I know there was a press conference going on about 10 minutes ago that was live, and that might still be going on right now. So congratulations to Senator Elliott. You all can take some of your money and start donating to Senator Elliott, okay? She's gonna need tons of money. This should be the beginning of the end for the Republican Party in the state of Arkansas, okay? Not that I'm so pro-Democrat, but right now, we don't have another choice. So if we can get people, hell, if there was a Republican that was running that mirrored our agenda, hell, I'd vote for him. But they don't exist, unfortunately.
You are really insensitive.
Well, they don't. Name me one Republican that supports the black agenda. I rest my case.
You didn't give me a chance to answer.
You didn't have to take a chance because there ain't any. I don't want you breaking your brain trying to figure out no, we're not doing that. Let's see what else. By the way, I want to get your thoughts on, the LREA is going to go on a 1-day strike on Thursday, right? Robert.
Yep, I heard that.
Now, I'm just going to say this. You know, I believe in strikes, but I'm going to tell you like this. If you're going to do it, do it. Okay? Don't be jive stepping, as we used to say back in the day. Man, it's kind of like learning how to swim. You know, if you're going to learn how to swim, you got to get, and I teach people how to swim. And the first thing I tell them is that you have to be able to put your head underwater. If you can't put your head underwater, then you ain't going to learn how to swim. If you can't get water in your eyes, then you ain't going to learn how to swim. If you won't hold your breath, you ain't going to learn how to swim. Those are some basic things in learning how to swim. Okay? You understand that, right? So
I understand.
if you're gonna impress upon someone that you mean business, then maybe you should have struck a year ago before they decertified your union. Maybe I'm not really that adept in all this strike stuff. I just know strikes are meant to impart pain on the person you're striking against. Okay? Now, there's going to be some collateral damage.
How so?
Because the collateral damage in this case with when you strike, if it's teachers, it's kids, because kids are not in school. All right? But if you're striking, I would tend to believe that part of the reason you're striking is for kids. And that's what you say you're doing, is striking to get the district back and to create a better environment, educational environment for kids here in Little Rock. Sounds wonderful. Okay? And I'm not trying to hate on you. But one day ain't gonna do a damn thing. Okay? One day is not gonna, it ain't gonna, look, let me tell you something. That's like a mosquito on an elephant's ass. Excuse my vernacular.
Are you saying it's insignificant?
It's insignificant. As I've told you, this governor.
But the question I have is, why aren't they trying to rally the parents? Are they afraid of black folks?
Well, part of the reason, see, this is how they're doing it. They're using the strike to try and impart upon the parents the importance of teachers.
That's stupid. Why wouldn't you not just go out and knock on doors, talk to parents?
I don't know that they have
phone calls.
Well, I think they've done some of those things. I don't know
They
that
don't
to be
have
sure.
they don't have a parent-led coalition, do they?
I don't know.
You know. Don't act like you don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. Why?
You
Look,
got access to teachers. Don't act like you don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
The teacher that I deal with is in North Little Rock. Okay. So, and they're not in a strike. In fact,
Not yet.
yeah, right, not yet. It's coming. You better be paying attention, because what's happening in Little Rock is going to happen in North Little Rock, okay? But the point I'm trying to make is that a one-day strike, now I understand that they put together little educational centers where parents can send some of the children, yada, yada, yada. I'm telling you, one day ain't going to make a damn difference at all. The governor has already told you to kiss his butt. I've been telling y'all that. All right? He don't care about y'all. He has been term limited out. He's done. So he ain't got to listen to you all. This is his legacy. Okay? So one day is not going to make a difference.
Well, I think it's important that people realize that what you're now witnessing is the rise of the North.
What does that
And
mean?
I mean Northwest Arkansas.
Okay, expound on that, please.
Well, where the money at? The money's up north. Walmart is funding this.
Right.
This effort. They're funding it. They're telling people, and people here in Little Rock are just pretty much just saying, "All right, cool, do your thing."
Right.
I just gotta ask the question right now with what's going on with Byron Allen, with what's going on with the Little Rock School District, all these things that are taking place. If people don't wake up, at some point they're gonna wish they had. That's all I gotta say about this.
Well, you make an interesting point, because Little Rock people are just sitting back and letting Northwest Arkansas run Little Rock. That's what they're doing. But here's the problem. Even the leaders, the elected leaders in Little Rock are allowing that to happen. That's what's disturbing to me, is that the elected leaders of Little Rock are saying very little about the influence that's coming down from Northwest Arkansas. That's the problem. That's why we need to start checking these leaders. These questions that we need to ask these candidates coming in is, what influence are you going to initiate as far as Little Rock and this surrounding area to beat back the influence of Northwest Arkansas? That's an important question, because clearly they don't really give a damn about Little Rock except for taxes. And that's about it. The benefit that they can get from Little Rock. Pretty soon their airport is going to be big enough where people will be flying into Fayetteville and not Little Rock. They'll make that the international airport. That I don't figure out why Little Rock won't make that thing over there international airport. But that's another story. It don't matter. They can make it bigger. They can make it bigger. That ain't no big deal.
It costs money to make it bigger.
So what? So
where's the money gonna come from, Dave?
You make it an international airport.
But you gotta have money to do that. We don't have a FedEx flying in and out of there.
Look, you have UPS sitting right there a half a mile from the airport.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You have a lot of shipping. You have the Little Rock port sitting 2 miles from the airport. Right. Okay? So what you need to do is bite the bullet, because what'll happen is that when you make it an international airport, then all of a sudden money will start flowing. I'm just saying. That's one of those things that you got to do.
Well, here we're having a conversation now about the chicken or the egg, right? Which comes first? And so, no, seriously, your assumption is
you're just a wet blanket. I'm trying to get y'all to think outside. Stop every time. Well, we can't do that because we Little Rock. Well, don't be complaining about Northwest Arkansas taking over. Pretty soon, all y'all gonna be riding around with Confederate flags on your damn license plates.
As long as I got General Lee on top of mine, I don't care. But the point is that I think what you're saying is a good idea. It's just the funding of it, right? How do you fund such an effort? And airports are very regulated, so that money will come from the federal government.
Exactly.
It's not a whole lot of money. They're not getting any city money. But the thing is how do you fund that though? How do you fund that expense?
But here's why you'll get city money. Because that means more people flying in and out of that airport. That means more people staying at hotels. That means more conventions coming to Little Rock.
We make that assumption,
Look,
Dave.
I've seen it happen in Nashville alone.
But see, Dave, I wish there was like a cure.
I've seen it happen in Atlanta.
Like one thing makes the whole world change.
No, it's a combination of things,
okay,
Robert.
Give me the combination. Give me the combination.
Okay, so once you open up that airport, then you begin to realize that, hey, we need to house all of these people. Then you start getting investments in hotels, okay? And then once you start investing in the hotels, that means that you've got enough room to start drawing some of these major conventions that will drop tons and tons of money in your community. So that hotel motel tax.
So give me a major convention.
Kojic.
I don't know what Kojic is.
The Church of God in Christ.
Okay, give me another one.
So what's the point of this exercise? How about the Teamsters Union?
Okay.
How about the NFL meetings? How about the NHL meetings, the NBA meetings? How about all of those things that people do and spend tons of money?
Those are legitimate.
Okay. What do you think, Rob?
If I'm going to have a meeting and the top 3 cities are New Orleans, San Francisco, and Little Rock, which one am I picking? It's showing the hell ain't Little Rock.
It may not be, but those other cities may not be. So for instance, right now, you know what's going on in Fayetteville this weekend?
No.
Okay. Well, first of all, Little Rock Central is going to Springdale to play at Springdale Harbor. And by the way, Joynet Radio will be broadcasting that game live starting at 6:40. Okay. But 5 states of AKAs will be in Fayetteville this weekend. Okay. Speaking of another organization. Okay.
So they've had the AKA conclave or whatever you call it. They've had that here. They've had the Deltas thing here. I mean, we've had those kind of conventions already. My point is why I think you have great. I think that's a great idea, but I still feel that our city, while our city is a great city, we still don't have a draw that would make the upper echelon type of organizations come to our town. Because if you come here during the week, there's nothing to do but go to your room and go to bed. There's no activity outside that. We don't have a pro team.
I agree.
We don't have any sports that people can, that are readily available. We don't have those amenities.
But
other cities
necessity
have.
is the mother of invention.
But what you're saying now is you're saying create an international airport and all of a sudden everything changes.
No, I'm not saying this has to work in concert with many other things that you do. So as I said, necessity is the mother of invention. You are exactly right. Right now, it ain't crap to do in Little Rock.
No.
There's not a legitimate. I mean, when I meet people, and I talk to a lot of people who are flying in and out, and that's why I'm bringing this up.
Okay.
Because people will ask the question, why don't they make this an international airport? These are people that are flying in because they love coming here because they say, wow, it's easy to get to. I don't have to fly all the way across. I'm going by what people are telling me.
Right.
Travelers,
We're right in the
business
middle of
owners.
the country,
We're
yeah.
right smack. That's what I'm saying. It's set. But more importantly, you do that, then those other industries began to pop up. Okay? They began to pop up. So, say, friends, you're right. Nothing's to do here in Little Rock during the middle of the week. But guess what? The more people you get coming in here, the more influence you have. And then maybe that jazz club does open up. Because we need a jazz club.
So,
Okay.
let me make sure. So you're saying Little Rock becomes an international airport. It just makes us a layover. So we'd be like Houston or Dallas Houston Hobby, right? Is that what you're saying?
Somewhat.
But how does that translate to? Usually when you're in the airport, you stay in the airport to your next whatever.
But not necessarily. You also will say, well, it's easy to get to Little Rock. Let's have our conventions there. Let's start adding more conventions. But the reason we don't get a lot of conventions, the big echelon conventions, you know why, right?
No.
Because we don't have the room. We don't have the hotels.
We got plenty of hotels.
You don't, Robert. I'm telling you.
Okay. I know how to fix that.
Okay.
You ready?
You don't. I'm saying. Look, I saw. So, for instance, one of the main things that the NFL looked at before they moved to Nashville,
What?
your hotel motel space. The main thing that conventions look at when they're going to a city is hotel motel space, particularly the large ones.
All right. So we currently don't even have a direct flight to New York.
No, we don't.
Okay. So you can't be a major player anywhere when you don't have a
I agree.
direct flight to New
That's
York.
okay.
Because that's to be.
You don't have a direct flight to L.A.
Well,
you
not even.
You don't have a direct flight to Chicago.
No.
In fact, there are very few direct flights out of that airport, and that's because it's not a major hub. Okay, why it's not a hub is beyond me.
Well, but
Okay.
again, I think if you look at the hubs, Detroit, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta. It's one more I'm missing.
Memphis,
Memphis is one. And
because
it's one I'm
because
missing.
Northwest flies out of Memphis.
It's one I'm missing. It's one up north. I can't think of what it is now. But
Did you say Chicago?
Chicago?
Yeah.
Chicago. So if you look at the cities that have hubs, look at those cities, right? Those cities are completely different than Arkansas.
I agree.
Completely. And the only one technically I would say we can compare ourselves to, we can't even compare ourselves to Memphis. Not even close. And the only reason I say that is because they have FedEx. So
You know what changed Atlanta?
what's that?
Do you know what changed Atlanta?
I want to hear what you say changed Atlanta. What you think changed Atlanta.
That airport. It
I
changed
think it was more than just the airport.
There was more, but that was the beginning. That was Maynard Jackson. And you know what? There were a couple of things that went into that airport. Okay? They made it an international airport, and they made sure that people who built that airport, minorities, was going to get a share of that money. That changed that airport. That changed that city.
Well, so we got a lot of people chiming in on this because they agree with me, Dave.
I don't care.
So okay, Dave, let me read these to you.
Okay.
Another major factor is not a large enough convention center here.
Exactly.
There is one direct flight to LA,
Exactly.
only on Wednesday.
Oh, is there a direct flight now?
Only on Wednesday.
Who's flying that?
Only on Wednesday.
But see, y'all are making my point. Go right ahead. Y'all are making my point.
Denver. Thank you.
I didn't think LA had a direct flight because I fly to LA often.
No, I'm saying the other hub was Denver.
Okay, Denver. Okay.
There is a direct to Chicago on American,
On American. Okay.
and you don't have to be a hub. But we don't have to be a hub.
But y'all are making my point.
What?
Y'all
No,
are making
your
my exact point.
Is
that let's see. Here's the problem. What I find with Arkansans.
Oh, God.
Okay. Is that it's kind of it is because you all every time you bring up an idea, Arkansans are always quick to say, "Well, we can't," "Well, there ain't." You gotta think bigger than that.
Okay,
I'm just simply saying that.
Allow me to clarify.
Okay.
Allow me to clarify.
Okay.
Can I clarify?
Yeah, I'll let you clarify. But let me finish this point. Let me give you the classic example.
Okay.
The Arkansas Razorbacks coach has just been fired.
Okay.
Okay? And my biggest complaint of Arkansas Razorback fans has been you never talk about hiring a coach that can win a national title. You never do. You never talk about that. You never talk about going to the SEC championship game. You never do. The only thing you talk about is hopefully we'll go to a bowl game. Now, what's my point of that analogy? Is that if you don't ever think big, you will never be big. And the mentality of people in Arkansas is the first thing when people start coming up with, this is why the majority of your talent leaves. Okay? Look, let me give you the prima facie.
Let me respond.
I will. One more point.
Okay.
Let me give you the prima facie evidence of that.
Okay.
And you just called that company's name. What company was that?
Walmart?
No.
FedEx.
FedEx. That's the prima facie evidence. When Fred Smith came to Little Rock authorities and said, hey, this is what I want to do, Little Rock folks didn't think big enough. And history shows us that mistake. I rest my case.
Okay, here I go. So my only reason for saying that I think that's a bad idea is that what we have to understand is that everything we have a discussion about costs money, right? So if you're going to expand the airport, and you're saying that the city should be a part of that expansion, so be it. Let's talk about that. So if you're going to expand the airport, where are you taking the money from? Where are you getting the money from? Now, mind you, the airport is not run by the city. It's kind of like the housing authority. It's kind of like wastewater. They're quasi-government agencies. They're not government agencies, right? Even though they get their money from the government, but technically they're not regulated or run by the city. They give a yearly report to the city. But the city really has no control over them, right? They have a board that people from the city of Little Rock sit on, but still they don't have any control there, so to speak. Will they vote for a new person to run the airport? Of course they will, but they don't have any control over anything outside of that, like deciding let's make this an international airport. That conversation is far deeper than just having that conversation. You also have to fund it. Now, the reason I say I don't think it's a good idea, when you start talking about turning airports into international airports, you got to have money. And you have to be an attractive city to do something like that, in my opinion. The biggest thing for me is the economics of it, right? So if we do that, if we spend, let's say we realize it costs $200 million to turn the airport, to turn the national airport into an international airport. Okay, so the federal government says, okay, well, you need 100 million, we'll give you 25. Where are you gonna get the other 175 from? Then we're stuck. The city says, well, you know what? We're gonna commit to giving you the other 175 million. Now, mind you, the city's budget is only 100 and some million itself. How could we possibly fund such an ordeal? We go out here and do a bond issue? What would we do to fund that, right? The conversation, I like the idea, It's just how do we?
But it
fund
wouldn't just be the city that has to fund it. That would be a state. That would be a state agreement as well. And I'll use the Titans as an example of that. When the Titans came to Tennessee, Nashville proper, that just wasn't the city of Nashville. The state contributed to that the building of that stadium and all the other things that went on as well. So it wouldn't just be a city issue. It would be a state issue because overall it would benefit the entire state.
Let's go with that. Okay, so it would benefit the whole state. Okay, so we're going to take 25 from the city because we need 175 million because the federal government said we're going to give you 25, right? So how does the state and the city, where do they take that money from to help them improve the airport? That's my question. Where do they find the money in the budget to do that? Because they're already having conversations now. They just lay people off because they didn't have enough money. Where do they find money?
But they just also gave the top 10% in the state of Arkansas a major tax cut.
I'm talking about this. I'm talking about the city, not the state. I'm talking about both of them actually. So how do we find the money though?
But those are examples. There are plenty. Look, there are plenty of ways that money can be found.
Okay, give me an idea.
Okay. Taxing the top 10%, take that tax cut back.
Okay,
it's
some
one
realistic,
way.
Dave. Some realistic.
Okay, but that is realistic.
That ain't realistic.
Why is it?
Because you got a Republican governor. They don't tax people.
But we're not going to always have a Republican governor.
Okay.
Okay.
When will we
so
you think somebody's going to beat Tim Griffin?
But here's the point.
I'm asking.
I don't know, but I'm just saying if we're going to change this, we have to think differently. Period. You know, and anytime, what I've seen across this country, that anytime a state wants to get something done, they get it done.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay,
but what I have a problem with is oftentimes they get that done, and it ends up being something that we, the regular everyday citizens, pay for, and we like things that we need desperately, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what I would like to see, if you really want to talk about making the city better, create a world-class education system that would draw everybody in, right? But again, if you look at everybody, if you just take a snapshot of Little Rock and you go, let's look at 1990 and let's look at 2020. Even though I know we're not in 2020 yet, but let's say 1990, 2020, right? So in 1990, Little Rock was the be-all to end-all. If you won Little Rock, you won any election there was. Whether it was for governor, whether it was for the Senate, the Congress, whatever it was. If you won Pulaski County, you won everything. Let's fast forward to 2020. Winning Little Rock means nothing. If you win Faulkner County, if you win Saline County, if you win, you can win everything else. All you gotta do is get a piece of Pulaski County. You ain't gotta win it. We've lost that. We have to get back to that if we really want to have an impact, and we want to talk about having an international airport or anything being profitable. We have to get back to being first or world class in something. And right now, we lead in nothing.
Oh, I agree with that.
So we have to find something that we lead in. And I don't think. I think making the airport international airport is a great idea, but I don't think it would even come close to fixing our problems. I think it would create more problems than it would fix.
Here's Kimberly. I don't think Arkansas won growth. I agree with you, Kimberly. Direct flights in and out, increased traffic, and more minorities. They say pass. But they are open to privately funded prisons. They don't want big. That means more people start speaking up. The state can make it happen same way they allowed Alice Walton those $1 million tax breaks to bring in outside art. They should have demanded that Crystal Bridges Museum be centrally located in Arkansas. Lots of deals like this are taking place, and I agree with you, Kimberly. I've seen states, if they want stuff done, they can get stuff done. They can find the money. Okay. Now I agree with you, Robert, as well, that a world-class education system would draw. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But still.
We got some smart cookies out there. So first thing first, Dave. I got to give you all this, man. I don't want you to miss nothing. In 1970, the metro Atlanta area had 2 million people. In 1980, when Hartsfield became an international airport, there were 2.5 million people. Nashville issues $76 million
What is
in bonds.
what is Atlanta now?
That was saying that in 1970 it was $2 million. In 1970 it was $2 million.
In 1980 it was 2.5.
Yeah.
What is it now?
I don't know what it is now. Hold on now. Nashville issued $76 million in bonds in 1985 for the overhaul to be international, for the airport to be international. So $76 million in 1985, that would equate to what? Probably 90 million today.
Probably
95. So you're still in the same. You're still in the same ballpark.
that doesn't debunk what I've been saying.
Yeah, but again, just because you create an international airport doesn't change anything. You have to. Okay, so let's go back and identify the issues in Little Rock. You ready? Your first issue, first and foremost, is crime. The reason you have so much crime is because you have a poor education system. You have a lack of housing. You have a lack of housing for middle-income families. That's why they live.
Crime was just as bad in Nashville as it was in Little
We're not
Rock.
talking about Nashville. We're talking about Little Rock.
I'm just
Hold on,
okay.
Dad. Hold on. So you have a lack of housing for middle-income folks. That's why you have people going to Cabot, Benton, Bryant, Maumelle. That's why Faulkner County, Conway. That's why you have people leaving the city of Little Rock.
So
because
why
there's
do you
no
have
housing.
that lack of housing?
Because the city or builders have not made an effort to identify housing for middle-income
Okay,
folks. Right?
true.
Okay, so
So how do you fix that problem?
which one? Can I finish first, Dave?
Okay.
Then we can fix the problem.
Okay,
All right.
test it.
So housing.
You hate it when I'm right, don't you?
No, I don't hate it when you're right because you're not very often right. Those two. Okay, hold on. Secondly, fourthly.
We only have an hour and 10 minutes left, so hurry
Oh,
up.
really? When you doing your comment, you let me try to. And fourthly, man, you made me forget my point.
See, that means they weren't
fourthly,
important.
we don't have any job growth. So if you look at Little Rock, if you look at our job growth is stagnant, right? So that being
Well,
the case,
construction creates a lot of jobs.
it does to some degree. It creates low-level jobs. But we're talking about
Oh, but it creates trade jobs, and trade jobs are not low level. A bricklayer will make $20-25 an hour.
well, I don't know if you're familiar, but Little Rock doesn't hire. They don't hire union workers a lot. They don't get a lot of union contracts. Just saying. So my point to you is, my brother.
Mr. Wet Blanket. Yeah,
No.
he's a wet
No,
blanket.
I just want us to be logical about the things we want to do, because I think sometimes I know how bad I want to see change too, but I want to see good change, good positive change that doesn't cripple us, because it's easy to want to jump out there. And I'm gonna read another comment too, because I wanted to.
How long are you going to
Hold on
wait for
one
this
second, hold on one
positive
second.
change? While
says-
all the other
Hold on,
cities are
Dave.
growing.
It says-
We've been waiting
Will you
for
wait, Dave?
positive change.
These folks hit the money. They just don't want tourism. That's why we've been slow to get casinos. I don't think casinos would do us any good.
Casinos won't work.
Casino is not the.
We talked about that
it's
last
not
week.
the fix.
No,
but
but I agree with them about the lack. They don't want tourism.
I
How
don't
many
think
times have I said?
I don't think it's the fact they don't want tourism. I think the issue has always been having the vision beyond, a river market, right? Having vision beyond that, because you got to remember the people who are in positions of power are not,
They're not visionaries. That's why they need to be voted out. But so what have I been saying? What was the first thing I said to Frank Scott when he was on the show about tourism?
Hey, the year's almost over. How many times have you been on here?
He's been on there 3 times. Okay,
When?
but here's
Oh,
what
that's right. I missed one of them.
yeah, exactly.
I just missed one.
You just scared.
He was on here 3 times. What
Yes.
3? What was the other 2?
Look, don't be trying.
Oh, really? Okay.
Don't be
go
trying.
ahead,
Don't
go
be
ahead.
trying
All right,
to
I'm
mess
giving
my
you a hard time.
point.
All right, go ahead.
What have I been saying is that Little Rock sits smack dab in the middle of this country.
Uh-huh.
You've got 2 of the busiest interstates, that crisscrosses this city.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, when you drive into Little Rock, there is nothing that is promoting tourism.
No.
Nothing.
No.
From whether you're coming east or west.
No.
So how is it that you don't even capitalize on those dollars that drive up and down your interstate every damn day?
No.
You don't do. See, that's lack of vision. That's what I'm saying about this whole thing about this international airport.
But if
you want to grow,
promote something, what would you promote?
well, good point. But let me finish my point because we'll get back to that. Okay. So if you want your city to grow, then you must have leaders with vision. Okay? That's what it's all about. You ought to be able to look into your leaders need to look into the future and say, this is what my city should look like 25 years from now. Little Rock is still the damn same city that I left 35 years ago. And that's not hyperbolic.
I'll agree with that part.
It's the same city.
It's the same mentality.
Exactly. So if it's the same mentality, it's certainly the same city. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
in fact, Little Rock, as far as I'm concerned, many of the cities that I've visited, small towns, Little Rock has regressed. And your example of that was Northwest Arkansas now as opposed to Little Rock today. How the hell did Northwest Arkansas outpace Little Rock? That's because you have leaders who are still in office who lack vision. I'm just saying. And that's not just city level, that's state level as well. Because there is no way on God's green earth that you should be letting that money drive up. And the only thing they stop for is gas and maybe McDonald's. They ought to be staying overnight in your communities, in your hotels, spending money at your places of business every day. Okay? Make sure you didn't turn that off. Okay. All right. I'm just saying. That's money that's even right now. You don't even have to have vision for that. Here's what Little Rock ought to be doing. Look, you tout the river market, but hell, it ain't nothing on the river market for me to really go see. All you have down there are clubs. That's it. That's all you have. You have a science museum for kids. That's it. You have a Clinton museum. What is that? I agree with you, Robert. There's nothing here. But if something's going to get here, you got to have vision. And you got to start electing officials that have vision. Okay?
I totally agree with that. But
that's all I'm saying.
But again, I think that you make some very good ideas, but the plan has to be detailed. And it also has to, well, let's go back and answer this before I go on this rant. What would you advertise on the freeway for Little Rock? Name me 3 things you would advertise.
Right now?
Right now.
Not a damn thing.
Not even Little Rock Central? Hell to the go.
Look, let's be honest. People are not spending money at Little Rock Central.
Well, what would you
okay?
promote?
Don't get me wrong. I love my school.
What would you promote?
Okay? Little Rock has nothing to promote.
So maybe that's why they don't have anything up to.
Well, that's where your chambers of commerce gets together with your city leaders and say, "Hey, look." Just like they put those stupid signs up, those what do they call those blue signs that they were debating where people could go and press them and
the little information
booths or whatever they call them. Just like you did something as simple-minded, and y'all would think, oh, this is a great idea. That didn't create any money.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
But it looks nice on the sidewalk.
Well, it looks nice on the sidewalk, okay? Whatever you want to say. I happen to think it does. It looks like a damn police sign as far as I'm concerned. Every time I'm driving down Main Street, I'm thinking the police follow me. But that's another story.
Sick.
But what I'm saying is, just as they got together and said, hey, this will be a good idea. I keep telling y'all, stop thinking outside the box. Start thinking outside. We need leaders who are going to say, hey, look, this will change our city for the best. Let's do that. If it means investing in a bigger, better zoo, great. But not just a zoo, but how about the arts downtown, the repertory theater? How about bringing more Class A art to the Robinson Center? All of those things come into play. All of those things are important. Because the more people you bring into your community, the more those people will go out and say, I went to Little Rock, and what a great city. You know, when I meet people outside of the city and I tell them that I lived in Nashville for 15 years, you know what they say? Oh, I love that city. Oh, I love Nashville. What a great city. Because when you go to Nashville, there's so many things to do. You had leaders who thought outside and said, hey, we want to grow Nashville and this is how we're going to grow it. When people, they never dreamed that Nashville would have an NFL team. They never dreamed that Nashville would have a hockey team. The problem with leaders in this city, we are too quick to say, well, we can't. I understand it's all right to be practical. I understand it's all right that you have to pay for stuff. I understand that. Okay? But what we have to do in this city is begin to understand that if we're going to make changes, that means that you got to have people with vision. And right now, this city lacks visionary leaders.
You make the assumption. You have a couple.
Well, we need more than a couple. We need a whole rick of them. You know what a rick is?
Yep.
Well, we need a whole rick of them.
By the way, you got a Rick I can get?
Well, Senator Joyce Elliott is going to need a whole rick of them.
We got Senator Elliott's back.
So, just, hey, congratulations to Senator Joyce Elliott.
Way to go, Senator.
Okay. By the way, Father...
Congressman soon to be, I hope.
And I hope so. By the way, Father of Atiana Jefferson died last week, a couple of days ago. He's the father of the young lady who was murdered by police, and he died of a heart attack. That's just sad. That's sad.
Peace to the brother.
Okay. Yeah, we're still going to get to Al Sharpton and those jerks. And coming up, we're going to talk a little Little Rock schools after the top of the hour break.
And AEA, because
and AEA.
I stand with the LREA. I like that little button.
Yep.
Okay. All right,
dog.
We got to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Top of the hour.
Peace. Top of the hour. That's what's up, dog.
Hello.
Well, hello.
Thanks for having me back.
Sure.
It's your day, Susanna. Y'all Tuesday.
My very own day, huh?
Y'all be dissing us on Tuesdays.
We are scattered as hell.
Yeah, I know. Y'all got it going on over there. Y'all got it going on over there. They got y'all busy.
Hey, folks,
Busy.
looking for a place to exchange ideas and talk about the issues that affect our community? Then join me, David W. Coleman, and my co-host, Robert Webb, for Black Focus
Check
Radio
this.
every Monday through Friday, noon to 2 p.m. on joynetradio.com. We like to say, it's our issues, our solutions, our voices. Download the latest podcast on your favorite
Nice.
platform. Also catch
Nice picture you took there with this camera.
Yeah, my coworker took it on my phone,
Our
yeah.
issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Hello to quality time at Marco's. Hello to being the game changer and original. And to those who make it authentic, we say hello with the Founder Select Pizza, Old World pepperoni, sliced Italian sausage, mushrooms,
International
hot
airport
dough made
mostly.
fresh every day,
International airport?
and a sauce from the
new
original
one in New
Gianmarco
Orleans?
recipe.
No, the one day wants to
Hello
break
to
here.
Old World
I'm in
original.
favor.
Every store,
Strongly
every
in
day.
favor of that.
The Italian.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Hugely in favor.
I'm not saying it's a
I've
bad
actually
thing.
thought about that quite a bit.
See? So, you said that to her to try to throw
No, I didn't.
shade.
No, I didn't.
That was a little tea.
No, it
But
wasn't.
see, those of us with
Jesus.
broader minds understand the significance of that.
And they're interviewing for a new director of the airport right now.
Yeah, Ron left.
So our the headline in the paper today said they have three
Three candidates,
candidates.
yeah.
Yeah.
You stop, man.
See, you doubt me. You
I
doubt
don't
me.
doubt you.
That's okay.
I just told you. Okay.
Sorry,
I don't doubt
you always try to say
I don't
things to
doubt
hurt me.
No, I'm not
all
trying
right.
to say anything to hurt you.
I'm beyond your sophomore mentality.
You pitiful brother, man. I swear to God, you are. That wasn't the case, man. Wasn't the case at all.
Suzanne, tell me your last name again.
O Daniel.
O Daniel.
O apostrophe Daniel.
Same great service, but more on it. Give us a call.
The name you love to hate.
663-1553 or 664
My dad liked the Latinas, so I got stuck with that Irish last name.
The Latina. Oh, Daniel's Latino?
No, I'm saying that's my dad's name, but my mom's Martinez.
Really?
Martinez. O Daniel.
I'm glad you told me. 'Cause I always wanted you to look Hispanic.
Because I am.
But your name is old. Hey.
That's because that's my father. We live in a patrilineal society.
So tell me what they said again about the house. You can't what?
Show you do not want to miss. Join me every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Myself and Mike bring you the latest
Who knows what I'm gonna say?
from the youth around Central Arkansas, around the state of Arkansas, right here on JoyNetRadio.com.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the
All right.
nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now.
Let's talk straight into that mic right there, okay?
855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, welcome back to the show, the second hour of the show. Dave Coleman in the house, along with Robert Webb. We've got Suzanne O'Daniel from the AEA that's going to talk a little bit today about what's going on with the Little Rock Public Schools here in the Little Rock area. I want to remind you tomorrow, you need to be paying attention to what's going on with Byron Allen and the Supreme Court and that 1866 civil rights law. Finally, people are beginning to wake up. Just to give you an example of how some of our organizations have basically sold us out for 30 pieces of silver. Y'all get that pun? You did? Okay. After the pacts were signed, Comcast shelled out $140,000 to the National Action Network. That's the organization for Al Sharpton. $835,000 to the Urban League, and $30,000 to the NAACP. Okay? So the reason I'm bringing that up is because, see, those of you who are thinking that, let's see, the Reverend Al Sharpton's silence was brought for a cool $3.8 million. So those of you wondering why those traditional organizations who fight for schools, who fight for rights, civil rights, are not standing up against some of this Republican assault on basic freedoms in America, like education, that's why. You got to stop supporting those folks. I don't care if they are black, okay? I don't care if they are traditional fighters for equality. They have sold us out. They don't care. And
It's just a personal opinion.
okay, let me ask you a question before we bring Suzanne in. Okay, because see, you're trying to get on my nerves. I see that already.
No, what did
Okay.
do that to you? Okay.
All right. So let's say
Okay.
you're a legislator.
Okay.
Okay. And no, you're Robert Webb Network.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what's up.
I'm gonna give you $10 million.
Okay.
You're gonna talk nice about me, aren't you?
No.
Yeah, you are.
Your money don't guarantee I talk nice about you.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm
Okay.
not.
All right.
You must not know me very well.
Okay. Well, I picked the wrong person. But you understand my point. You're just trying to be obstinate, okay?
No, seriously, you asked the wrong guy.
So, okay.
You should have called. What's his name and asked him that. He probably would have said, "Yeah, I'm
Who,
talking nice about
who is,
you."
what's his name?
The dude with the head that lost all the weight, Sharpton.
Al
You should
Sharpton.
have called him. Or
Well-
Jesse Jackson. They probably would have gave you the answer you were looking for.
Well, they don't have to give us the answer. They've already proven what
Me
they
is
do.
not going to do it.
Well, they sold us out.
Well, your leaders can be bought and paid for.
I know.
Unfortunately, and your leaders can be bought and paid for when you don't support them.
Isn't it interesting that the Congressional Black Caucus has said nothing about this Byron Allen suit?
No, it's not interesting. Why would they say something?
It
because
is
they get money
interesting.
from Comcast and Comcast and Charter. Why would they say something?
It is interesting.
You want somebody you want them to run somebody against you next term?
should-
You better shut up and go on about your business.
So when you say it's not interesting, so should we
I'm
just
not
ignore
surprised. Who should we?
it? Shouldn't this be brought to light?
What's that? What you talking about? What's happening, Byron?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You
But
know,
again,
do you
hold
like
on,
Maxine
hold on.
Waters?
Hold on.
Do you like Maxine
Yeah.
Waters? You like Mama Maxine, right? I like Maxine too.
Okay.
You know what? She has said nothing about this Comcast suit.
Because you want to hold a position.
Maxine Waters is probably the one
I
person
don't care
in
who
Congress
she is.
who is not going to lose her seat until
don't-
she decides to say bye.
You know what? They put enough money behind somebody, she'll lose her seat.
Maxine ain't going.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
You
All right.
think that.
Anyway,
Keep thinking
all
that.
right. All right. Let's bring in our guest. Quit arguing with me, okay?
It's just the truth. It's not an argument when it's truth.
All right.
Truth is the truth, baby.
All right. So let's talk to Suzanne O'Daniel.
Susanna.
Susanna O'Daniel.
Susanna.
She's from the Arkansas Education
It makes
Association.
me want to say Roseanne. Susanna O'Daniel.
No,
It makes me
you
want to
just-
say that. I don't know
if you're
why.
gonna do it,
Okay, all right.
you're talking about Gilda on Saturday Night.
Yeah, Rosanna.
Rosanna, Dana.
Exactly.
That ain't what you said.
I didn't have to put the rest of it. Everybody knew what I was talking about except for you. Well, you even knew, so I ain't got to say nothing else.
Hi, Susan.
Hello.
How are you doing? Welcome back to the
Thank
show.
you.
She's like, those guys have lost their minds.
No, it's not the first time I've heard that. It's not that funny and it's unoriginal, but
See, that exactly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susanna.
Exactly. I'm on Susanna's
You have to
side.
really be of a certain age to get that reference.
You're exactly
Yeah.
right. Because Gilda
Hey,
ran.
oh, don't take shots at me.
Oh, I
Yeah.
just did.
She taking
Yeah,
shots
good.
at me.
You need a few.
Late.
Anytime you want to take shots at Robert, you're more than
I'm not
welcome.
shy.
I'm on your side.
I know.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I'm recruiting for the team.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on as of late here in Arkansas.
Yes.
What can you tell us about the one-day strike
Yes.
that's going to take place on Thursday, and some of the other things or initiatives that you all want to continue to put forward to put pressure on this administration?
Yeah, so we have a lot going on, not only here in Little Rock with the Little Rock Education Association, which this week, just yesterday, the news is just at 24 hours old, that the Little Rock Education Association has called for a one-day strike, and that will be this Thursday, November 14th, here at every single school in the Little Rock School District. And what they're asking, not only the educators, but family, community members to join them at the picket lines at their school, and there will be people there on the picket line from 7 a.m. to 9:30 every day, or all morning. Thursday of the strike, and we invite anybody who can hear my voice, anybody in the community who supports the students and the educators in the Little Rock School District to come out and join us on the picket line. Again, that's going to be from 7 a.m. to 9:30 at every single school in the Little Rock School District. And then later in the day, we invite community members, educators, and supporters to join us at the State Board of Education meeting, which will begin that Thursday morning, and we will ask supporters to join us there at the Department of Education's building, which is located immediately behind the state capitol. We'll be joining up there at 11 a.m. So the strike and the picket lines will run from 7 a.m. to 9:30 at every school in the district. And then we will be convening at the State Board of Education meeting at 11 a.m.
Were you all encouraged last week when the kids did the walkout or the sick out, whatever they called it, with the numbers? Did that encourage you all that say, hey, people are paying attention? Because those numbers, from what we understand, although they were initially underreported, but the final numbers that I had was close to 7,000 kids who did not attend school that day. Were you all encouraged about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we've seen time and time again in this country when leaders have failed to lead, we've had to let children show us the way. And I think that the children and the students in the Little Rock School District did that. It was really powerful. It was a really powerful statement. And I think the students that participated actually learned a lot that day. It was an important lesson in civics, civil disobedience, and really just said we support our teachers. We spend hours and hours of our day, years of our lives with our educators, and we know what they mean to us. And something I think is important is, educators are not on strike for a higher pay, although they deserve it. They're going on strike because they want a voice on behalf of the teaching and learning environments in which they work. They want a voice at the table for their students. They want a voice at the table for their profession. And so I think that's a really important point. You know, people say, oh, these teachers, they need to be with their students. And they are. They're going on strike for their students. And I think that's something that people should realize, that they're risking a lot by stepping out of their classroom and stepping onto a picket line. And we hope that the community will continue to stand with them.
Many people are asking, what will a one-day strike accomplish?
Well, I think it will definitely raise the issue. It gives the opportunity for the community to say, many people have been asleep throughout the last 5 years of the state takeover, to say, wait, what's really going on? So I really think at minimum, it raises the awareness. We've had parents and supporters working the carpool lines every morning in front of the schools, engaging parents, helping them understand what's going on, why it has come to this. And I think it can't be ignored. What we've seen over the last 5 years is parents, educators, students, community members show up day in and day out, week after week, month after month, year after year, at the state board meetings, at the community advisory board meetings, in the streets, on the steps of the Capitol, all to be ignored every time by the decision makers. Well, you can't ignore a strike. You can't ignore if there is nobody in the classroom with your child. And so I think it really amplifies the message and the cause, and our hope is that it will continue to unify the city in opposition to the State Board of Education's position to not only remove the collective voice of the educators from the bargaining table, but also demonstrate the need for a democratically elected school board.
What do you say to critics who says you should have struck 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when you should have seen, your leaders should have seen this coming by this Republican administration and this governor, because the Republican Party has been doing these types of things all across the country?
Well, I think that people have all kinds of opinions all the time, and I think that all criticism should be heard. What I think is a strike is a really big deal, right? It's a really big kind of turning point, I think, in a lot of different campaigns. It's one tool in a toolbox. There are all kinds of things you can do to bring pressure to bear, to stay at the table, to kind of continue to try to negotiate in good faith, and I think that's what our association and their leadership has done and has tried to do, and has been really pushed and ignored to the point where that's no longer an option. With a strike, you want to be ready. You want to make sure you have the time to not only educate people, not only within your organization, but also in the broader community about what's going on. Make sure that they have the buy-in, their support. Make sure that the students can be cared for, right? Because in addition to educating our students, the schools provide a safe place for students to go every day and for them to be fed and cared for, and not only educated. And so we need to make sure that there are places for students to go as well. So it's not something you flip a switch and do. It's something that takes a lot of planning, whether it's a 1 day or 1 month long strike. And you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? Once you say we're on strike, you're on strike. And so it has to be something that has to be planned and carefully thought about as part of a larger strategic strategy.
So with this 1 day strike, is there a possibility that it extends longer than 1 day?
I don't know the answer to that. I think all options are on the table. If I were to lift up the voice of the Little Rock Education Association's leadership, I believe that was her response when asked that same question of the press, and I don't purport to speak for her. But that's my understanding of what her response is to that question, so I'll just lift that up to you again.
Robert, you got questions?
Oh yeah, just one or a couple. So y'all went out and so not y'all, but LREA, they went out and they've educated the parents about what's going on. Have they formed their parent coalition to move this forward?
There is a regular meeting of parents and community members that have been meeting regularly to build out ways to communicate with parents, make sure that parents across the city are engaged. I do think there's always room for improvement in that effort, and I think that we continue to do that. Organizing is about relationships, and it's not something you can flip a switch and do. You can't build trust overnight, and I think that any organization can always be better and show up for people when you're not asking for something. You show up for people in good times and bad, and you build those relationships. And so we are doing that. Could we do a better job at it? Absolutely. And I would argue that most organizations could.
Do you have it, like, is there, I know y'all wouldn't know, but do you know if there's a meeting scheduled in the future is there anything like upcoming that we could announce now that you would know of?
The only thing that I have to announce today is the activities on Thursday.
On Thursday, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. You'll let us know about
You'll have us
anything
back,
else.
I hope.
All right, cool. What's up? Y'all got every Tuesday.
Thank
We'll
you.
have y'all back.
Thank you.
When y'all show up. Okay, my bad.
Wow, now he's throwing shade back. That's
why you
cool.
throwing shade at our guests, man?
She been throwing shade at me.
I'm feeling sunny.
Well, you're supposed to be a bigger talk show.
You have to be.
host.
You have to be really old to know about Rosanna Dana.
You
That's
gotta,
just truth.
you gotta be a bigger talk show host. Don't worry
I'm
about
not
it.
very big right now because Susanna's she's taking shots at
You
me
heard
right
his
now.
feelings.
It's fine.
You don't
Taking
have to-
shots.
It won't be the last.
You good. You talked about preparing for a strike and having places to go for the kids who are not going to be in school. Can you tell us where some of those places will be so parents can, if they have to go to work, because obviously we know that's what some parents will have to do.
Sure.
Can you tell us where some of those locations will be?
We will be announcing that list very shortly. So I know that the final details are being made. They're working around the clock. Our building looks like a war room right now. There are people in there working, confirming all of those details. And I know that in the next day or so, probably in the next 12 to 24 hours, we will have a list for parents to have and get their students to a safe place where they will have certified people there on site to care for the students and as well as make sure that they have a meal.
Okay. Hey, if you want to call in, 855-525-5683. David's going to give you the number. 855-525. I have to look at it. 5683. I can't even think of that. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, can I?
Yeah, please continue, brother.
How has the response been from parents so far as it relates to now hearing about the strike, so on and so forth? How has that response been? Because I personally think, I don't think parents have taken this serious. So are y'all trying to send a message to parents to say, hey, wake up, and then what was their response back?
You know, the first response has been, what is actually going on, right? I mean, people have been asleep at the wheel, kind of saying, well, we're just kind of riding the wave a little bit. And now they're saying, oh, wait, something really is happening. And so I think that's given us an opportunity to educate parents, hear from parents, listen to what their experiences have been in the district, and incorporate that into what it is that we're responding to try to improve. I think that the biggest obstacle is people just didn't know what the heck was going on. Once people once we enter in conversation with the parents, they are like, wow, because it's real to them. They know their teacher's name. The teacher knows their student's name. And they have that relationship. So when they say, well, I'm going to stand with Miss Jones, this means something to them, right? It's not a nebulous thing for them. And so once we explain what's going on and what it is that they're responding to, we've had an overwhelmingly positive response. But there has certainly been that hurdle in making sure that the parents understood the scenario, that they understood the case of what was going on.
So as you all strike Thursday, I know you really can't answer this question, but as a journalist, I need to ask you, do you foresee this happening more? Do you, or what happens after that one? So the governor comes back and says, okay, 1 day strike, no big deal. What next?
You know, that's a great question, and I would...
Before you
Sure.
answer, because let me tell you why I'm saying
Please.
that. And I've said it on this show before. I think the governor, years ago, told Little Rock, the teachers, to kiss his butt. I'm just going to be real with you. Because when you refuse to negotiate with a party, and you all are supposed to be in an agreement previously, and you decide to arbitrarily do something, that's saying to that party, hey, here's a middle finger. Now, that's just me, my interpretation of all this. How do you combat something like that? Because this governor doesn't have to run for a re-election. He's been, term limited out. He doesn't really have to listen to anybody except the people that are patting his pockets. And we know now that a lot of the money in this effort is coming from Walmart and those types of people. What next?
No, it's a really good question, and I think this very scenario exemplifies two things. The first thing is the governor's power base, although he is here, is not in Pulaski County,
Exactly.
right? Pulaski County did not vote for him for governor. If you look at the ballot boxes that were here within the county, a lot of his power base lies up in Northwest Arkansas. And so that's one thing, right? And so even though he's physically located here, the voters who have reelected him are not largely in Pulaski County. So that's one thing when you kind of think about how loud different voices are in his sphere of influence. And the second thing is, this whole thing demonstrates very clearly why it is so important to have democratically elected actors at the table. So when we talk about the teacher strike that just happened in Chicago, what happened? They went on strike because they were bargaining with the mayor of Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot. She is over the schools in Chicago. She can be held accountable at the ballot box. When the teachers went on strike in Oklahoma, the mass protests that they had across the state of Oklahoma, the state legislature and the governor, they have electoral consequences when they underfund public education, and they saw that. We saw a whole wave of not only people being unelected, we saw a whole wave of educators running for office themselves and taking their seats. And so this very scenario demonstrates so clearly the need for a democratically elected school board, because there is no democratic lever to pull here. As you said, the State Board of Education, they've all been appointed, most of them by the current governor. The Commissioner of Education, of course, is appointed by the governor. And then, as you've stated, the governor is in his second of 2 terms and will not have another election for this seat. And so there's no democratic lever to pull. There is nobody with that electoral accountability here. And so this very action of the one-day strike and raising consciousness in the community about what's happening just shows how ridiculous it is that you have no voice at the table. There is nobody. If you're a parent and you have an issue in the Little Rock School District, who do you go to, right? And we are talking about kids who come in maybe 3, 4, 5 years old into the school district, whether they have the pre-K or just go directly into the kindergarten program. 5 years is a significant number of years in a child's education in the Little Rock School District. So you have almost half of your child's education, and you had nobody that you could appeal to. You had nobody to take your case to. And so I think this whole exercise is really an effort in part to raise the consciousness of why democracy matters in the public sector and why we have to have people who have electoral consequences.
What support are you getting from the other larger school districts around the state, particularly in Northwest Arkansas?
Yeah, we have seen some support come out of the Fayetteville School District. I don't work for the Little Rock Education Association. I work with the state association. And so we actually just had our annual meeting last weekend, I believe. And there was so much support. We had members in from across the state who were taking buttons. What can we do? Can we do some phone banking? Can we activate, because phone banking is something you can do from wherever you are to call people in Little Rock and say, I'm an educator in Fayetteville standing in solidarity with the educators. Can you join us on the picket line? So there were a lot of educators from across the state who came in and showed support. And we've also seen some actions the night of the candlelight vigil here last October, just last month, about a month ago. We saw kind of a solidarity event happen in Fayetteville as well that night, in solidarity with the educators, students, and community in Little Rock, happened at Fayetteville High School. We've seen some voices come out of Rogers in recent weeks, coming up in solidarity with the educators in Little Rock. So as we continue to raise those voices, we actually had, I can't remember if I mentioned it last time, we had legislators in Washington County, where Fayetteville, Springdale are located. They wrote a letter to the editor, or a guest column that ran in the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette, expressing their strong concerns. Because here's the deal: this happened to Little Rock today. It can happen to Springfield tomorrow, right? We're talking about state laws. These laws weren't created just for Little Rock. These are laws that are on the books in the state. So it can happen to a school district anywhere in the state. And so this is not just a Little Rock problem. This is a problem in public education. It's a problem of democracy in our entire state. And the legislators in Northwest Arkansas lifted their voices and they named names. They named the 2 names of the state board members that represent the 3rd Congressional District, which is up in Northwest Arkansas, who sit on the state board, and said they were very disappointed in their votes to harm the Little Rock School District.
That's cool. Hey, so, I've been saying this, so hopefully you'll correct me.
Yes.
So I've been saying for a long time, this is kind of payback for LREA support. And I can't think of the guy who ran for governor. Was it 16, 18? You know what I'm talking about? The Democrat guy.
Jared Henderson.
Jared Henderson. You kind of think this is payback for LREA openly supporting a guy who had not even a snowball's chance in hell of winning the governorship and doing it so publicly?
I can't speak to the governor's motives. I think that, the effort to privatize public sector things has been underway for decades. And, we can attribute it to all kinds of factors, but I definitely think that from an ideological space, you can point to this or that, but ideologically, there is an effort to say the role of government should be small. Things should be privatized. They shouldn't be made public. They shouldn't stay in the public sector. We say that they should be public, because when you make things private, that means you have a profit motive. That means you choose who gets to come in and out, right? And so we think public education is the promise of America for all students. And so there's this ideological battle. So we can attribute it to this event or that choice here and there. And certainly feelings are hurt in different, campaign cycles. But it's really part of a larger ideological bent, I think, and an attack on public sector things, whether it's the privatization of our prisons and all the problems that has brought, versus the now effort to privatize public schools.
Go ahead, I'm good. Susanna, she just set me straight. I'm straight.
That's pretty easy to do. So, and I think this thing about the ideological battle is interesting, and I talk a lot about that because this idea from the Republican side of the ledger has been going on for quite some time. And I personally believe that, and don't really want to point any fingers, but I have to just say this, that the people on the other side, whether you're Democrat or independent, have just been sitting around and letting this happen to us. Okay? We watched it. We didn't believe it. You've heard people sound the horn. And we don't, and I don't know if you know about this Byron Allen thing, but this thing with Byron Allen is a classic example. Is that Byron Allen has been fighting Comcast now for almost 3 years. And nobody said anything about it until now, when it's getting ready to go to the Supreme Court.
And the DOJ is going to speak on behalf of Comcast and Charter.
Exactly. What if people would have gotten upset about it 3 or 4 years ago? And I think we as a group, as a community, allow things to happen to us because for whatever reasons.
I'm going to say the thing I always say. I just think this falls back on leadership. I don't care what anybody says, and I hate to say it in front of Susanna, but it's just the truth. They take your district, you say nothing. They keep shooting shots over the bow, and you don't say anything. Well, at some point they're gonna go, well, either they're stupid or just they're gonna fight back. So you gotta, at some point, there should have been something. That's just my opinion. You gotta let them know that we're not just gonna take anything. And I don't think they did a very good job of saying we're not gonna take anything. Not trying to be an ass about it. But I think if somebody walks up and punches you in the face once, and you don't do anything, I'm gonna keep punching you in the face. Till you stop me, right? But I think it gets to a point. I got so much damn confidence now. It ain't nothing you can do because I got confidence now. I got confidence. I know I can take you because you've allowed me to do so much to you. You've told me that either you're a coward or you just can't fight me back, right? So that being the case, I can do whatever I want to.
Or you're offering thoughts and prayers.
Or you're offering thoughts and prayers, yeah, which always works. God will help. He won't get you there.
You don't know if you're in a fight unless you start taking a swing.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think everybody. I think everybody was thinking, well, they're not going to do this to us. They're not going to hurt us. They love us, right? We're teachers.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't give a. They don't care. You got to fight them back. I think after the takeover, that would have been a great time to have. That would have been a perfect time to have a walkout, right? Regardless, because that would have sent a strong message. But
I want to respond to that, or at least react to it. I think one of the things that I would encourage the community to try to wrap their minds around is we've heard that from a lot of people. You're not the first to lift that perspective of it, but what I want to say is we hear it from a lot of people who don't have the similar stakes on the line. So we've got people who are like, hey, teachers go on strike, you could get fired. And that the stakes are really high for our members. Mm-hmm. And so what I would say is you have to make sure the time is right. You never really know, right, if the time is right. But, it's a lot of people saying, walk off that cliff. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stay over here where it's safe. And I'm not suggesting that you're staying where it's safe. But I think I've heard that a lot in the community, people that have nothing or very little to lose. Mm-hmm. We're talking about people who make as little as $20,000 a year, cleaning the schools, mm-hmm. Who we're asking to put their jobs on the line. Mm-hmm. And when they don't work, their lights are not on, right? These are real consequences for real workers mm-hmm. in the state of Arkansas. And so that's just something I would encourage the community to take a step back and try to have a holistic understanding mm-hmm. of what it is we're asking. Because strikes seem sexy, strikes seem amazing, and it's like, let's do this, let's fight the power. But I also want the community to understand what's truly on the line for the individual people who are providing for themselves and their families.
I think you make an excellent point. As I sat here and listened to you, and certainly those in the
Are you going to kiss more? Jesus. Use some wipes first? My God.
Will you shut up? I'm sorry. We do this all the time. As I
wish I could see Susan in the face. She's like, bring it on, baby. Bring what you got. They told me about y'all before I got here.
I know Tracy Ann Nelson, But here's what I find interesting. Is what you just said, although I know it, and what I mean by that, what you just said about that $20,000 a year worker, that janitor, that cafeteria worker, that bus driver, all of those people, we're not seeing them people.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? All we hear are teachers.
Yes.
Okay? I'm seeing a campaign of putting those people in your commercials. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because I think, that's where I think people will relate to you. Because unfortunately, for whatever reasons, and I disagree with this, but people think teachers are this elite group of people. Y'all are different from everybody else.
What people are you talking about in particular?
I'm talking about the janitors, all of those people who are under that same contract that you guys are, that are not being put forward. Mm-hmm. Because I can relate to the janitor, mm-hmm. As a parent. Because he's making $20,000, I'm making $20,000. Okay? Not to say that teachers are making all this money, because we know you're not. But you understand what I'm saying?
And it's not just the parents. Your student may not connect with their homeroom teacher.
Exactly.
Maybe they connect with the person that picked them up and brought them to school.
Exactly.
Teacher's aide, right?
Or the first person that they see every day could be their bus driver.
Exactly.
And for the special needs students who ride buses that are equipped to help transport them, those are our members, right? And that is a really critical person in that child's day.
Exactly.
And they may not connect with their homeroom teacher. That may be the person that they connect with. And so that person is an educator because they make public education work. And so all of the people that make our schools run are our members. And we don't just represent classroom teachers. We represent cafeteria workers, janitors, school nurses, the whole spectrum of people that make our schools work. And so...
So why aren't we seeing those people? Why aren't we seeing some of those people? I don't know. I'm in the media, so I'm big on public relations campaigns. I can see a commercial right now.
Of course you can. Now you're promoting. Okay.
I am not promoting.
Sure.
I am for public education, Robert.
Can
Excuse
you get
me.
Dave some money so he can make
But
a video,
but
please?
but I can see a commercial right now
Okay.
of a bus driver, a janitor, and a cafeteria worker. 3 panels talking about what they do every day for children in schools and how this contract affects their lives.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And you know, I think
Now, if you stake that idea, you're going to have to pay me. I'm just going to let you know.
I appreciate that the intellectual property rights have been claimed.
No, but
That.
I'm just kidding. But
So,
you understand what
no,
I'm saying.
I totally hear what you're saying, and I think we try to lift up the voices, faces, and experiences of all of our members. What I will say though is I think it's incumbent upon all of us to change our language. One of the things that we try to say as educators and explain what is included in that definition.
But see, when I hear
This is not just
educators,
teachers, right?
but
People
when
say
I hear educators, the only thing I'm gonna think is teachers.
Right, and so it's incumbent on us to kind of define it. So to say that, if you are providing food to those children every day, you are cooking food, you are serving food, you are cleaning, you are an educator because you are making education work for that student every day. And, whether you're the SRO, whatever your role is, you are connecting with kids and you are making them, ensuring that they have a successful day, or you're there for them on the tough days. And so I think it's incumbent on all of us in the language we use and in the definitions we use and to help our communities talk about it. I was in a meeting the other day with very high-level leaders, and I called time out and I said, we need to use the word educator, not just teacher. We need to be more inclusive, and we need to talk about what that definition encompasses and the work and the people doing the work. And so I think it's incumbent on all of us to help kind of change the imagination
Okay,
around
so
that
I
issue.
just love
Before you say that, how about educators and support staff? Because
No, just educators.
But
Why do you have to- why do you have to
I understand
differentiate?
your definition. But
When you
again,
differentiate, it's just too much confusion.
no, it isn't, because when I hear educator, the first thing that comes to my mind, and the average person would probably agree, is teachers. If you say support staff,
You don't
so let
think
me give you an
bus drivers-
example.
You don't think bus drivers when you hear educators?
No, I don't. I understand what
That's
she's
fair.
saying.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? That they are all educators per se.
Right.
But when I hear educators, I'm thinking teachers. But if I hear support staff, I'm thinking of all those other people that go into supporting educators. So that includes bus drivers,
Okay.
nurses, cafeteria workers, and things of that nature. That's just my opinion, because I agree, when you say teachers, people are going to think teachers. But again, and I agree with changing the educator thing, but it still doesn't ring or make me think about that janitor.
Okay. So
You understand what I'm
Well, and
saying?
I think, and it comes to the broader point I was making, which is we need to be intentional about the language we're using,
Yeah.
so that we are inclusive of everyone who makes the schools go.
So the people who there are some who say that the only reason that LREA is really active now is because they decertified the union. Speak to that it's more than just about the union. Explain to us who haven't been following this
Yep.
why this is important with all that's been going on with the Little Rock School District itself.
Well, so again, I work for the Arkansas Education Association, and the Little Rock Education Association is one of our affiliates, our local affiliate here in the city. But the Arkansas Education Association is now celebrating its 150th year. And so we've been doing this work in the state of Arkansas for over a century. And so what has happened here in Little Rock, a lot of people say, oh, the union's going away. That's false. What has happened is the state has said you are no longer, that you being the Little Rock Education Association, is no longer going to be the exclusive bargaining agent on behalf of the educators. You are still going to be here to provide all other services that the union provides, to support teachers, to provide professional development. If there is some sort of hearing about your employment, you will have somebody stand with you, represent you at that. We will fight at the Capitol, and we will fight with and for you at the school board meetings when and if we ever get one here. And so all of the other things that are the benefits of being one of our members are still in place. It is only the part about negotiating the contract, and I'll tell you that's a big and major part. But one of the things when we kind of talk about the broader effort here to dismantle public sector things, and we talk about the fact that the eyes are on Little Rock now, because Little Rock was the last association that still represented members at the bargaining table and bargained the contract. No other school district in the state has that power. All others no longer do that. And so this is kind of the last stand for an education association to bargain a contract at the local district level. And so now,
Who bargains now? I mean, if you don't have that local, who does that?
well, there are two different things that happen. So one, it's funny because I talk to my friends who do this work, my role in other states that have a strong union presence, and they bargain contracts at every school district. And I say, look, I'm the person that represents our members at the state capitol. So I effectively am bargaining the contract through state law, if you will. So if this last legislative session, for example, we had a bill introduced that would have drastically reduced the amount of planning time teachers get.
Yeah, that's smart.
Right, and we fought and fought back,
For these
and
guys.
neither of the two bills that would have done that advanced. But that's kind of the role I play to a certain extent, and we play at the state level. Is you're almost kind of bargaining with state level actors on behalf of all educators, because when you don't have that contract bargained with the local school district, your teaching and learning environment kind of defaults to what the state law is, right? So right now, for example, the state law has a 30-minute duty-free lunch. So if you're an educator in the state of Arkansas, you get a 30-minute duty-free lunch. If you were in a place that had bargained a contract, you maybe get a 45-minute duty-free lunch. But that's the state law, so that's kind of the minimum. It establishes kind of the floor that all school districts then have to abide by.
Okay, so Robert and I was discussing, I don't know if it was today or earlier, about, if this strike is going to take place, a one-day strike, let's say all hell breaks loose and the governor says, I'm going to fire you, all of the teachers, okay? As we were talking, it dawned on me, as I told you, Robert, there's no way he'd do that. Here's why. Because if you fire everyone that walks out, if that includes the cafeteria workers, the bus drivers, and all of that support staff that we just briefly spoke about, there is no way that they can handle that. Period. End of story. No way. You might be able to find half of the substitute teachers. You're not going to find substitute cafeteria workers. You're not going to find substitute bus drivers. You're not going to find all of that support staff that goes into making that school work.
I guess we're making the assumption that everybody's going to walk out.
We're
making that assumption. I mean, we'll have to wait till tomorrow. And I'm going to do the same thing I did
Thursday.
about the high school thing. I'm going to say nobody doing nothing. You know why? Because every time I say they prove me wrong. So I'm saying right now on the record, nobody's going to do anything.
So you're admitting on air right now that you were wrong about the student strike.
Yeah, I wanted to be.
How wrong were you?
I was very wrong because I didn't think anybody.
How many people that you say was going to possibly walk out?
I didn't think they have a whole lot.
You said like 150.
No, I said if they have 150, that's not a win.
Okay.
But I was. Hey,
So how many was it?
Glad to be proven wrong.
Ultimately, how many was it?
The news said 34-14.
34-14.
Everybody else comes with these
But-
other numbers. I'm just going by what the news said.
Okay, so you're going by the news now, right? Was that Fox News?
No, it was Dave Coleman News. Black Focus.
So
No,
you've gotten another number since the news media.
They said
What was that
7,000.
number?
They said 7,000.
Okay.
I don't know. But I mean, I don't care how many walked out. I'm just glad that it was successful. And again, my point is, I definitely want to be proven wrong. I'm not gonna be supportive. I'm gonna say right now that I don't believe any teachers are gonna work out. Now I hope, or teachers are gonna strike. I hope nobody goes to school tomorrow or Thursday. But I can't be supportive of it. I can't be, because if I am, then I'd be disappointed. So
I think Robert's the kind of person that carries an umbrella with him just so it won't rain.
just so it won't rain. You with me, right? You with me? And I'm
Or
superstitious.
a wet blanket so he could stay cool.
Sure is.
And I'm a Cowboy
Sure is.
fan, you know?
Oh God.
I'm a Cowboy fan.
Therein lies the problem.
So the one game I bet on the Cowboys, the one game I bet, because I know they're gonna win, the New York Jets. And they lose. So see, that's why I don't do that. I'm just letting you know.
So
But-
I want to.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I wanted to come back to your point about basically what I heard you say is the power of collective action, and that's what a union does, right? We don't represent the people that have all the money, but we have all the people, or a significant number of the people, and so when you don't have the money, you have the numbers,
right.
and so that is the power that we have, is collective action. And so you're absolutely right. I mean, when you withhold your labor, that is the power that you have, right? Because they want you to show up with your hands, your heart, your hands, your head, your heart, your hands to do that work. And when you withhold that, there's nobody there to do it. And so that is the lever that you have as a worker taking collective action.
And that's been my argument for years is if we come together as a people, we can defeat government because clearly, look, I try to be as bipartisan as I can, but I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. But I know for a fact that the Republican Party has made a conscious effort to destroy unions. That's part of their political platform is to destroy unions. Regardless of what union it is, they want to destroy you because overall, the history has shown that unions support Democratic candidates more so than Republican candidates. And they will do anything and everything. And I found also that Democrats, for whatever reasons, are reluctant to fight fire with fire. And that's why we end up in situations like we are right now in Little Rock. Now is the time, in my opinion, and this is just my editorial, is that if you all are going to be successful, and I don't know what all you have on the agenda in the future, but you got to be willing to show the Republican Party that you're willing to punch them in the mouth. Okay? And I'm hoping Thursday is the beginning of that. Because if they don't, it's like a bully. If he goes into a fight and knows that he's going to come out unscathed, he's going to keep bullying people.
Well, and the perfect bully here to really point to is Matt Bevin, the governor of Kentucky, who just lost last week as governor of Kentucky. He narrowly lost, but he lost in a state he's the Republican governor of Kentucky. It's a very red state. All other Republicans on the ballot for statewide office won, and he lost because he specifically attacked teachers, and he did it. It was awful. They had a big strike in Kentucky when Governor Bevin and some of his supporters attacked the teacher retirement system there, and they said, "You're not going to do that to us," and they swung back at the ballot box. And I really think that victory is definitely due to the fact that he came for the teachers in Kentucky, and they said, "No, we are going to vote for Andy Beshear." Who came out the victor. And I think that we've seen from the State House in Oklahoma, and we've seen in Kentucky, and we continue to see the educators in Chicago just had a big victory. One of the things
in New Jersey was another one.
Chris Christie, he said he wanted to punch teachers in the face. You want to talk about swinging? He actually threatened violence as the sitting governor. We've seen time and time again that teachers, educators, support professionals rising up and saying, we're not going to take this, and showing up at the ballot.
So that brings up an interesting point. The governor obviously is term limited out. Who would you target? Not saying you all are, but with him not coming back, who would teachers target as far as
support?
No, I'm talking about those who are doing the dirt, because those are the ones that need to go. How would you target an individual in an upcoming election that would possibly be against you? Because the governor can't do this without the Republican legislators. Okay, so who would you target in a case like this, whereas that this governor is term limited out?
Well, what I will tell you is that these type of victories, for Matt Bevin to be defeated by educators and for just next door, these aren't things that are in California and New Jersey. These are things in states that touch us, right? We got Oklahoma. What I will tell you is when the Oklahoma strike happened, and they were so victorious, getting hundreds of millions of dollars invested in their public education system, I started getting calls from legislators who I would always have to call, Republican legislators, calling me on Tuesdays, on 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. My phone's, I said, "Oh, why are they calling?" And they're calling because they're afraid of what they're seeing in the headlines. That these are not things just in LA or in Chicago. These are things that are happening in states that you can throw a rock. These are things that are happening where people may live in Oklahoma and come teach in Arkansas, right? We've got people in the Fort Smith School District who do that all the time. And so they started calling me I've started to see somewhat of an evolution around these issues because they're starting to see the electoral consequences. So it's actually kind of interesting. I think one thing is you just have to tell people the truth. Look, this person did not support schools. They does not support public education. And when we talk about public education, we've got like 96% of the students in Arkansas go to public schools. So we're not talking about, a small subset of students. When you
And that's a
public
number that y'all need to
education,
keep using.
right?
Yeah.
And we educate any kid that shows up that day. Right? It's not that, your parents voted for this person or that person, we're not going to teach you.
Right.
Right? And so that's what public schools are about, is about opening our doors to every child.
Boy, I could see an ad right now. That ad, public education.
Please give Dave some money to stop.
96% of the kids who go to school in Arkansas go to public schools. Here are the legislators who have voted against public schools. And you put them on with a big X on the screen with that caption. That's powerful. Because that number you just said to me, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So basically what is happening, and we've only got a few minutes left, but this is shocking. You're telling me that 94% of a population is dictating the movement to private and charter schools.
Correct.
That's what you just said to me. At least that's the way I interpreted it.
Right, and that's the point of collective action and consciousness raising and telling that story
Wow.
to the community, because we've got people with the deepest pockets in the world on the other side of this issue.
Wow. Do you think that'd be a good ad, Robert?
What's that?
You're not even listening
Power
to
in
the show.
numbers.
Power numbers would be good.
You're not even
Are
listening
you
to
going
the
to get
show.
money from Susanna to make that happen?
Oh, look, we're not going to negotiate my contract on there. You have to excuse me because I'm a graphic artist, and of course I've been in the media for 35 years. I just simply believe.
If you get a violins playing, they are playing. Oh, go ahead, my bad. What you
I'm
said
going to turn your mic off here in
Go
just
ahead,
a
what you
minute.
said that?
Support.
I just simply believe that information is power. And what I've learned from Republicans is that they don't like truth and information. It's kind of like when you turn the lights on and the roaches scatter. You know what I'm saying? So if you start pounding them with truth, 96% of the students in Arkansas attend public education. Here are the legislators that have voted against measures for public education. Boy, that's powerful right there.
And I think no matter what party you belong to, I mean, we've seen people that don't have a backbone of both parties.
Exactly.
And I think
Excellent point.
when you do that type of campaign, you can see people can grow a backbone pretty quickly.
Exactly. So, which is,
Dave,
yes, Robert.
one of our listeners said, tell Dave to stop yelling at her. Stop yelling at her.
Thank
Dave.
you. I appreciate the support.
Am I yelling at you?
No, I think they meant Robert.
No, they meant Dave.
No, they didn't.
They meant Dave. They said
Look,
Dave was yelling.
that's passion. I'm sorry you lack that, Robert. Okay?
Well, I'm retired, so I'll have at it.
Anyway, we got a couple of more minutes to go in the show. Anything that you want to
I
add?
didn't want to talk about the LREA thing the whole time. I wanted us to talk about what she does. What she does is far more exciting.
Okay, well,
we don't have it 2
I got
minutes.
it in there that I represent all members.
Exactly.
As they have
Well,
them.
she didn't. Tell
if you were listening to the show, you would have heard that.
No smarter. No,
Well-
see, Susanna does. Susanna, tell us again what because Susanna's there at the Capitol when they're in session. She's always working on behalf of education. So tell us about some of the stuff you do, so we have an understanding of what you do.
Yeah, sure. Just here in the last couple of minutes. So I proudly represent our members, all members in Arkansas at our state capitol. I lead our lobbying efforts there. I engage legislators every time lawmakers come together to discuss public education. I'm in the room representing our members and making sure that we are at the table, and that if there's something up their sleeves, that we alert our members so that they can take action. Because even though I am here in Little Rock, of course, legislators represent people around the state, so our members across the state need to know so that they can apply pressure and raise the alarm or raise the support, depending on what the measure is before the lawmakers. And so I do that, and I also work to support campaigns and elections so that we can support pro-public education candidates or unelect those who have not been supported.
So see what we need to have around here more often.
I like
Hey,
Susanna.
do y'all
Thank you.
provide a report card of candidates who are?
Oh, that would be a good idea too. That's basically what I just said, Rob.
So
Jesus.
the good news is, well, the hard part of doing a report card is the bad bills have to get a vote in the chamber, right? And so that means that I have to have a vote of every single lawmaker in either the House or the Senate or both. A lot of times in the last couple of sessions, it's been hard to do those report cards because we were able to kill the bills at the committee level. And so I don't have a vote record of every single lawmaker on that bill. So we've actually been more effective earlier in the process as the bills move through the process. So it's been a little bit harder, but that means our victories have actually been stronger in defeating some of these bills to publicly fund private schools and some of the other measures that we've seen come forward. And so we do track the voting records, and I'm happy to provide that information. Those are all public documents. But to create a scorecard on the big votes, you need both chambers to vote on it. And so it's actually a testament to the fact that we've been fairly effective, earlier in the process.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
And
So
that's the kind of thing that should
question.
come on and tell us.
Yeah. And some of it's such inside baseball, it's hard to know if you're a member of the public that's just interested, that kind of thing.
Well, you can always talk about that stuff here on this show.
Thank you.
Yeah. And our listeners are pretty sophisticated. I mean, unfortunately, because they follow.
What do you mean, unfortunately? You should be.
Unfortunately.
God, why are you dogging our
I'm
listeners?
saying the ones that follow me, not the ones that follow you. They're probably not as sophisticated as my listeners. But
Oh, you trying to throw some shade on me? Is that what you said with a guest? Man, you're supposed to act right in front of guests, But she's quickly not.
y'all been attacking me all
Oh,
day.
you
man.
just-
I gotta take my shots.
Well, you just need to start paying attention. Susanna O'Daniel, we appreciate you coming to the show. You do a great job every time, in spite of Robert.
That's all right.
I try to
David.
I try to have a good interview,
appreciate
informative. What was he doing? Playing tic-tac-toe or, Curly Crush or whatever? Thanks, Rob. But again,
I'm getting ready to head to the East Village player.
East End.
No, the East Village.
East End.
Will y'all people stop fighting us?
East End. But
Let us
again,
do what's best for y'all.
yeah, right. You do a great job, and thanks a lot. And hey, look, keep up the fight. I support you all 100%. Although he doesn't act like we're both products of public school, Little Rock Central, baby. So thanks again.
Thank
I
you.
really
Can I
appreciate
give
it.
one more quick
Sure,
plug?
go ahead.
Please join us at your local public school here in Little Rock. We will be on the picket lines. We invite the community 7 a.m. to 9:30 Thursday morning, and then join us at the State Board of Education meeting at 11, and that is located in the building immediately behind the state capitol. So look
No
forward to
doubt
seeing
about
you.
that. Hey, thanks a lot again.
Thank you.
All right, and by the way, just if you haven't heard the news, Senator Joyce Elliott has filed to run for Congress against French Hill. Really excited about that. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So stay tuned, and we'll be getting Senator Elliott on as soon as we can. All right, so Robert, we got to go. What do we do every day after the show?
We go home.
God, it's just so hard to soar with eagles when I work with turkeys. Man,
Yeah, you like saying that.
you need to give your quote, Robert.
Oh, you want me to give a quote?
Yeah, are you looking? You're just not finding one, right?
Yeah, because I'm looking for a good one.
Okay.
I'm looking for one that speaks to you, Dave.
Okay. I've
Is
got,
it okay? Is it okay?
I've got one that'll speak to everyone. That's why we do quotes.
Jesus.
Okay?
Jesus.
We're waiting. You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Okay. Here's mine. This is from Muhammad Ali, which is fantastic. We all have the same God. We just serve him differently. Rivers, lakes, ponds, streams, oceans all have different names, but they all contain water. So do religions have different names, and they all contain truth expressed in different ways, forms, and times. It doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim, a Christian, or a Jew. When you believe in God, you should believe that all people are part of one family. If you love God, you can't love only some of his children. That's from Muhammad Ali. That is a fantastic quote.
Chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people. Hey, spend money on your own community if you don't know what that's. Peace.
Listen to you.
You're just a little hater. You're just a little hater. You ain't ready for Marcus Garvey.
For Marcus Garvey.
Issues,
Thank
our
you.
solutions, and
No, thank you. That was pretty good.
join us
Good job,
every
Susanna.
Monday afternoon.
You catch your lobby. Well, no, I'm not going to say that, Robert. What I'm going to say is everything's wonderful.
I didn't say that.
Very well prepared.
She was,
I love
wasn't she?
those guests. Yeah.
I couldn't even shake her. I tried a couple of times. She was like, "Oh, no, I'm just gonna evade that
You gotta
question."
come a little bit harder than that.
I see.
I like that. Boy, she
Gotta
give
bring
you,
your luck
hey,
to come
she
in
give
this
you a
thing.
little grief. I like that.
Don't let these cheeks fool you.
Girls,
Hey.
I appreciate it. Thank
Hey,
you.
good job as always.
Thank you.
Look
Thanks
forward
for
to having you
having
back,
me.
okay? Keep up the great work.
She is hilarious. You gotta
Keep up the great work. Hey, and let's I'm serious. That 96 4%, that's a great graphic.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's a powerful graphic.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
Will you
thing.
give him the money so he'll stop? Jesus.
Gosh, that's hey, I'm open now, but no.
Advertising slow.
But that's a
Advertising
powerful
slow.
graphic.
Yeah.
That 4%, only 4% of people who are being educated go to private schools, and 96%, people don't know that. So those types of things will grab people and say, whoa, well, wait a minute, why are they trying to dictate what public education is doing? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's powerful. That's elitism at its worst right there.
Exactly.
So,
The
good
top
stuff.
4%.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks.
All right, D, I'm out. Peace.
All right, y'all have a good day.